Welcome, and we're glad to have you here today. And this is the Cannon County Chamber Connection. And of course, it's brought to you by DTC Communications. With our thanks, gives us an opportunity to showcase Cannon County in a very positive light. And this is already August, and summer is in full swing. The students are returning to school, which a lot of parents out there are probably cheerleaders at this point. And football season is just a couple of weeks away. That will be starting. And then we get into Turkey Day and Halloween and Christmas, which is my favorite one. But that's on down the road a little ways, but not too far. And I do have some guests with us today. And one of these guests is one of the people responsible for a program that we have here in Cannon County that I think is so great. You know, a lot of times they'll tell you it takes a village to make things happen. Well, in this case, it really does. And I have Dr. Thomas with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about the We Care Cannon program. And of course, that's school supplies for all, plus a few other things besides school supplies. And we had this, what was it, last weekend?
Last Sunday of July, yep.
Always the last Sunday. It's out at the high school. They're very organized. When did you all start this?
This is our
Dr.
14th
Thomas?
year.
That's hard to believe.
It is hard
I've
to
been doing
believe.
that for 14 years.
So 2011 would have been the very first year making this happen, and it's been continuous even through COVID in 2020. So we've consecutively had it for 14 years.
And it's great. I mean,
Yeah,
how
it
many
is.
kids did we serve this year that you know of?
On the day of the event, we served 587, and then we
Okay.
packed backpacks of school supplies and then hygiene bags for specific 40-something additional students that principals and school administrators identified that they knew could benefit that did not end up being there that day. And so another 40-plus backpacks and school supplies.
You also have disabled children, I'm sure that.
Actually, we had special needs children come in an hour earlier at 1 o'clock. We had made some, the school system helped us make some special arrangements. They came in and they got to experience much of the same event. They went and got their own backpack, got their own school supplies, and then they were had a runner, somebody special assigned to them, go get their socks, shoes, underwear, their size, and kind of meet the family back. And then many of them took advantage of a haircut as well.
That's some of the things that you don't consider school supplies, but they're given. And the haircuts were really good
Yeah, they
because
looked
there were
really good.
several little kids came through there.
For those that are not aware of what this type of event is, walk us through it.
Yeah, so it's it's open to any student in Cannon County. We don't ask for any kind of income verification. We do ask you to be a Cannon County student. It's fully self-sufficient, put on by a nonprofit board here in Cannon County, and majority of all the funds come from individuals and businesses in Cannon County. It's happened on the last day, Sunday of July, and for the last 14 years, as we mentioned. When they come there, they're registered, they meet their principals or a school representative. They go through and have an opportunity to get a haircut. They get school hygiene products, meaning like a water bottle, shampoo, conditioner, lotion, toothpaste, toothbrush, floss. They also get a School Spirit t-shirt, kind of a Cannon County shirt, a pair of shoes, 7 pairs of socks, kind of walking through the hallway here, 7 pairs of underwear, have a chance to get a vision check by the Lions Club. They can get a sports physical that was completed by Community Wellness, and then they get a new backpack and then age-appropriate school supplies through the day. And so it's we think it hopefully benefits the entire child, not, hey, just here's your school supplies, or, oh, here's a new socks and shoes, but everything that we can kind of to jumpstart the child and help them have a successful school year.
That means a lot because there are some kids that start school that aren't able to have school supplies for whatever reason.
For sure, and we know.
So it kind of puts them in the back seat at the beginning.
Right, and that was identified with a group back in 2010 when this whole idea of, hey, could we make something like this happen? And that's one of the things that we heard from teachers of, hey, we have kids that come to school those first week and they don't have the basic supplies.
They do.
So our event, our community outreach has grown over time. The similar premise has been there from the beginning, but the amount, the elaborateness of school supplies have all increased, and it's very specific to what the teachers are requesting in the grades. So.
And it's
And you
always
have-
pretty. Oh,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say it's pretty cool because you've got other counties now that have seen what we're doing in Cannon County, and they put one on of their own, like in Coffee County. They do it up there in Manchester. Rutherford County, they do a thing called Stuff the Bus, and they've done that for years. And those kids, United Way plays a big part, just like they do with us here. But those kids get the school supplies when they get to their school on first day of school. You know, that's when the teachers will have them in their home rooms and stuff. So the idea that we've come up with, that you guys have come up with, has kind of been going area wide now.
Let me admit that this probably all kind of comes from Coffee County.
Does it?
Bill Bolden, back when I was a late high schooler into college, they did a week care in Coffee County for I think it was Manchester City Schools.
Yeah.
And that was done over there at Westwood. And so I remember seeing that modeled by Mr. Bill and a group of volunteers in Manchester. And now they primarily did school supplies and new shoes. I remember that being very vital to some kids.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to volunteer at that as, I can't remember if it was late high school or college. And the Boldens were a big part of my life. And I thought to myself, hey, this one day, this might need to be reinvented. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, when I say it takes a village, what I meant by that was, I think everybody I knew in Cannon County was there to help.
Do you know what? That's just so funny you mentioned that. We were having a discussion, Daisy Gann and I were, there were 181 volunteers. And I thought, oh, and she's like, hey, that's not even including like our SROs,
Right.
some rescue squad. The haircutting station actually didn't check in because they had their own set of people. And then that's not even including sports
Lions
teams.
clubs and-
I think Lions Club, sports teams that helped us out in the summer with transporting stuff in the storage unit there, and of course our board that kind of helps put it on. So the volunteer list was well over a couple hundred people, but 181 that signed in just on Sunday to make
Right.
it happen.
And it takes that many
It does.
because you have it broken down into, like my job was binders, K through 8th grade. My daughter's job, which was right next door, was binders, but hers was 9 through 12. So, you know, the girl next to me did markers. And then there were some, this is hard to do. There was some that were pre-K, and they don't get a lot of things that the kindergartners do. Well, they don't appreciate that one. But I had one little boy, you've got to get tickled at these kids. He came through there and I said, what grade are you going to be in? And he said, first. And his mother said, no, he's going to be in the 2nd grade. He turned around and he goes, I don't know nothing about 2nd grade. I'm not going into 2nd grade.
How cute.
And it's so funny because these kids, when going through the line like she was talking about, there was one kid that was in 2nd grade. My girlfriend, I think, was handing out the colored pencils or
Yeah,
crayons
she
or
was.
something, whatever it was. And you had to be 3rd grade and above for these colored pencils, right? So all of a sudden, they come in, what grade are you in? Now, my girlfriend's hard of hearing. And so she couldn't hear. So I'm kind of the interpreter from now, you know, so I yell out 2nd grade. And the kid kind of looks at me, and it's sad because he's not going to get colored pencils. And I look over at him and I said, well, wait till next year. And next year you can come through and get the, oh, then he was happy again. We're ready to go again, you know. So
We have, there's been times past where we were very just kind of generic, handed kind of less specific supplies
Right.
out to everybody. We found that because there are specific things that are age specific, we wanted to make sure and supply that. Like the pre-K, it sure looks like they get less, but Then they get some number cards, letter cards,
Right.
washable markers, some tablets, some different things that fit their school format as opposed to some other things. So it's as you go through, you kind of think, that does look slim for some. But we try to be very specific.
Well, they also had, and we talk about, crayons and pencils and pens and all kinds of stuff. They even had earbuds to hand out to the high schoolers. Not too many high schoolers came through, as we've talked about, but I think Eddie had like 180 some odd pair of earbuds left over, so.
But whatever's left over, you use the next year.
Yeah.
Because we do a count. Or
Yes.
it goes in a teacher center where they can.
Or it's taken to immediately for use this year. A lot of things
Right.
we kind of offer up to teachers to say, hey, do you need this for their classroom? Like one of the things that we did differently this year, we've been giving out this specific Texas Instrument calculator to sixth graders. Often teachers say, hey, they didn't get to school with those calculators. So we actually provided a set for every classroom that needed them, for every teacher at the middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that needed those calculators. That's how everybody was supplied calculators, and we're hoping that way the longevity is better this year. So one of the things that we've adjusted over time.
Last year, I had a little girl and an older girl in the same family. Well, the little girl was so upset when she got to me. And I says, what is wrong? I says, why are you crying? And she goes, my sister got a cell phone and I didn't. And her sister said, it's a calculator, it's not a cell phone.
Well, to be honest with you, calculators come on cell phones, do they not?
They do.
So she could be correct on that.
Well, she wasn't old enough to get one anyway.
Yeah.
But she was a little upset, and her sister goes, it's not a cell phone. But that part of it is kind of humorous when people go through. You got to have some of this. These kids, they take this really well. But when you were talking about a teacher center with the leftovers, I remember I substitute taught at Eastside when my kids were in Eastside. And I was amazed at how much the teachers spent of their own money to buy paper and pencils and crayons for kids that couldn't get them, but the teachers would go out and buy them.
That's an alarming number every year. That came to our knowledge, I don't know, probably 10 years or so ago. We had we've kind of adjusted it this year, but we had a teacher store for the last probably 8 to 10 years. And what it was specifically for the classrooms and supplies that weren't necessarily, hey, this goes in the kid's backpack, but for teachers. And we did that a little bit differently this year, but the teachers, without a doubt, put a lot of their own money into the classroom. They sure do. It's amazing what like just for example, when you think about a stapler, a 3-hole punch, and a tape dispenser, what those 3 items cost together. I mean, you're talking $40.
This has been a few years back that I did this, but even then, if you've got 5 children in that class that are not able to come up with this, and you're buying just paper and crayons and things like that for them, it runs into money.
For sure.
And it was ongoing. I mean, when that was used up, they still had to have more.
Right.
Things didn't change. But I just think, I wanted people to know that we have a group of people that have been doing this for years. And it seems like it's the same people, you and your wife and Tammy and Jill, and it just seems like that's the same group of people.
There's definitely a core, and the board has grown in the last couple of years, Cannon County Youth Dream Board, and they're the nonprofit that puts it on, and that board has grown, thankfully, with some younger folks, and so that board works really hard. We start planning about monthly meetings in January, kind of just to think about some ways to fundraise, and then also as we plan the event. Of course, this takes a lot of funds.
Right.
So we have a lot of local individuals, local businesses, local churches that have given very generously and graciously, not this year only, but throughout the years to make this happen. Every child leaves that day with, about $125 to $135 worth of
Goods.
supplies, and that's not even including the what if they get a sports physical? Put a value on that. Put a value on a vision test. Think about a haircut. Think about that family that. One of the most heart-touching things occurred years and years ago when a grandma cried, and she said she'd never had all 6 grandchildren get a haircut for the beginning of school. She always did one per month, and to see her so moved at that hair station years ago, I can recollect that and see that so vividly.
I remember the first year that I worked in that they did that. The first little boy that came out had a mohawk.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like every third or fourth boy that came out there had a mohawk.
We definitely see some trends. That's right. That's
Well,
right.
I had one come through the line with me that I didn't think he was going to get a haircut. I didn't look like he had much hair on his head, and he still went and got a haircut. It was free, so yeah, I'm getting a
Well,
haircut.
that's all right, but I will tell you, the comments from the grandmothers, because there's a lot of grandmothers that raise their grandkids.
There's a whole lot of those.
And they were all very appreciative of it. They really were. They thought it was great.
Yeah.
And all the volunteers that I was around are very helpful.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then they come in groups, and you've got a, what do you call them, that take them around?
Yeah, so a tour guide.
guide, yeah.
So that's one of the things that we really feel like that kind of sets us apart from many other kind of back to school giveaways or bashes is the fact that we want this to be very personalized. We want every family to feel like they are valued for being there and make sure every family knows they're welcome. And so we assign a tour guide to each family. Those tour guides end up making a connection with those families. I don't know how many of those tour guides over time have said, I saw this little kid months later, and he came up and hugged me, grabbed my leg, because that was connection, because he remembered that day. And so I think that tour guide is such a just a beautiful representation of just
Right.
loving on a family for just a brief, 20 to
And
30 minutes.
It's at the high school, and you're set up in different rooms, and these little kids, and probably adults, may not have been in the high school before, so you got to show them to where to go.
For sure.
To get all of this, so that's a really good thing. And
Props to
I'm-
Courtney Nichols and his staff for allowing us to host it there, and he's so helpful throughout the summer. Courtney is to make sure and make that happen for us, because he opens his doors and helps us get it set up, and so it's
But hey,
a
that's-
summer-long event.
That would be a shame if they didn't, because this program is so good, and so many people benefit from it. And the ones that were there, I wish more of the high school kids would.
I do too.
It's just items. It's not you're not being judged because you're there or because you're not there, It's just, but high school's a different animal, so we had a few high schoolers.
Yes, ma'am, we did.
We did.
Yeah, and we'll have a wrap-up meeting today with our board, and that's actually will be on our kind of agenda of like, hey, how do we better serve that high school population, because we have had numbers up to close to 130 of high schoolers before that actually physically came through, and they were nowhere close to that numbers this year, and so you would think that. If you've benefited as an elementary or middle school, that you may think, hey, I can benefit from this.
My family can benefit.
For sure. So we will revisit the idea today in our wrap-up meeting of how do we better serve and meet the needs of those high
Right.
schoolers, because the needs are there.
Yeah,
I
they
think-
are. They just,
In looking at that issue, I think maybe if you held a We Care Cannon high school edition, I know that takes a little bit of work, but I would talk to Courtney Nichols and stuff, because I think it's not necessarily the high schoolers. Yes, they're embarrassed, so to speak, to come to something like this because of the age of kids that are around them. They don't want elementary school kids, especially.
they don't want their peers that are in the high school. with them
But
to
guess what? If their peers are coming to this, then they're more apt to participate. And I think if you get it in the age group and do maybe a separate, I don't know how that would work, that would
blindfold them and tell them.
Yeah, there you go. Blindfold all of them.
Do you know we had record numbers of little ones? There's a record number of 4, 5, and 6-year-old or 4 or 5-year-olds in Cannon County, and so for the first time ever, we ran out of shoes and socks and underwear for small ones. Just because of the volume and the number of kiddos. I'll proudly say, with a group of our board, we have fulfilled everything we were short of. Everything was either delivered to the school, Head Start's, the specific school, or contacted parents, and everything was there before school started today. And so everybody that didn't get specific items, socks, shoes, and underwear were the only things they were put in their hands this morning. So that was something I'm proud of our board to make happen. So to make sure everybody got it.
They do a great job. They do. Just to come up with, I had to laugh at Douglas Jennings. He was giving away erasers. Now, that's
Block erasers.
And I went over to him and I said, I don't want you to be overworked or anything. But then afterwards, when it's over, you count how many items you have. Well, Douglas counted every one of them.
Good.
Well, Eddie Mears counted every one of his little
earbuds.
Earbuds, sure did, and because I teased him about it. He came over and I said, "You ain't through counting all your earbuds. Get back over there." I did too, count them. We got 185. It's like, wow, okay.
Well, Dr. Thomas, I just want to say that, people don't realize how living in Cannon County, it seems like you hear more of the bad stuff than you do the good stuff.
Yeah.
And how giving this county is, because when you were mentioning socks and underwear, I mean, who does that? I don't know of too many places that give shoes, socks, and underwear. However, the Lions Club in November will have their coat giveaway.
Coats for Cannon.
And they always give away socks and underwear.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
last year they even gave diapers.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, that's a big need too, And then, of course, they also, starting probably the 1st of November, they will team up with the dollar store down here, and they have a food drive that gathers enough food for our food pantry to just about operate most of the year.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So there's just a lot of things out there, but this one's a good thing.
Well, I'm very partial, having, of course, serving on the board and being an integral part of it. But I feel like it's the greatest day in the year in Cannon County. But of course, I'm very partial to that. And so my kids kid me that it's not their birthday, it's not our anniversary, and I acknowledge for me it's that last Sunday of July is the greatest day in our county. So.
He kind of gets to play
that's
Santa
right.
Claus in a way. Christmas in
All I
July.
need-
Very
It's a
true.
tree.
Very true.
Yeah, all it needs is a tree.
For sure. Maybe we could do that next year. Put us a little Christmas tree,
Christmas
just
tree
to
up.
represent.
Yeah.
So.
That's right.
And have like a box of crayons and some erasers and stuff hanging from the tree.
From the
as
tree.
ornaments.
I might keep that in mind, Keith.
Hey, I can do that. I've got 3 other ladies
Yeah, for
waiting
sure.
on me, but I appreciate you coming and
Thank you.
talking, because
Thanks
I
for letting us
don't
talk.
think that people that don't know do know about this now,
Mm-hmm.
and people in other counties. I like for them to know about it, even though they can't come to it.
Right.
Well, they could if they moved down here, right? Yeah.
Well, thanks for letting us share about it. Certainly love the opportunity to let more folks know. And we invite folks that haven't been out to volunteer to come out the last Sunday of July. Or we generally have volunteers show up about 12:30. The event goes from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We see, like we said, 587 students in person this year, which is going to be just short of about 30% of our school population from prior years. I think our school population's up this year, but so we're serving somewhere about 30% of our actual full enrollment. So
And then there's also items out there that if the teachers do run into this problem, with children, it's there for them.
Oh, for sure. We fulfill some teacher needs throughout the year, not near to this volume, but
Right.
there will be some teachers that will reach out and say, hey, do you have some of this, or can you help us get this? Like last year, we were able to provide test pencils for testing, like brand new pencils, quality
Right.
pencils. At testing time, we provided those to schools, the board did, and that's very important. I know educators, I can't appreciate how important a Ticonderoga pencil is with testing, but I think it's it's one of those things that they're needed.
That's
So,
right.
Yeah,
All right.
for sure.
Well, this is a good thing about Cannon County.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Now, I thank you for coming, and
Yes, ma'am.
thank the board when you all meet.
I will this afternoon.
And tell
I'll do
them
so.
that I sing their praises everywhere, so.
I'll do it. Thank you.
All right.
This is a kids edition of the
It
Chamber of
is,
Commerce,
it
isn't it?
is. We have several that
Speaking, yeah.
service our children in Cannon County.
We talked about Christmas in July for We Care Cannon. We got some other people who kind of helped us with Christmas in
Just
July.
come on around here. Come on in here, ladies.
And we've got a new star of the show to introduce, I believe.
I think we do too. These ladies, some of them have been on the show before, and they are with the Child Advocacy Center. And of course, the Child Advocacy Center services children in Cannon County all year long as well. And they deal with families that are maybe separated for whatever reason. You know, a lot of times kids live through something they can't help. They're just there and they've got to be seen to. So these ladies help make that happen. Well, we've got Amanda, and you've been with us before several times,
Yes,
haven't you, Amanda? And we have Julie, and she's been with us. And we have a new one, Abigail
Yes.
Green.
Yes, Abigail Green.
All right. You were with us at the last cruise in because in July, the Chamber Cruise In is their toy drive cruise in. And so we collect toys, and we have a couple of organizations that we give to, but Child Advocacy is one of the biggest because they deal with the biggest volume of them. And we did collect several toys, didn't we?
It was quite a few. It was really a blessing because we know, like you said earlier, Christmas is not terribly far away.
No, it isn't.
Blink and it'll be here.
And of course, y'all have families at Christmas time that you ask for volunteers to
We do.
take families and everything.
We do, and yeah, Christmas will be here before we know it. I think we're already in, we're over July. I was gonna say we're already in July, but we're past that. Already
We
starting
are.
school back. So, yeah, the Child Advocacy Center, we do a lot of things like you mentioned. We actually do stock toys and books and stuffed animals year-round for kids that come to our office. Sometimes we get kids that are displaced from their family, or they've found themselves with a relative, and they may not have been able to bring their toys with them. So we try to offer that to kids year-round too, so that they have something to take home with them. It's like a comfort item. So we do keep those on hand year-round, but we do especially use them at Christmas time because we sponsor the families that work with us. We sponsor the entire family for Christmas, meaning everybody in that household will get something. If they're a client of ours, they qualify for that. It's a free program for them.
I always take a family.
Right.
It's
yes.
kind of fun.
We can't do it without the community support. We have to have support from the community to be able to bless these children. So
Well, even for the adults, you know, I don't mind that. Like I say, I know there's a lot of grandparents out there that are raising their grandchildren. I think last year I may have had one of those.
there are a lot like that, a lot of grandparents that have taken on grandkids because, you know, parents are on substances or they're incarcerated or they're in a rehab facility or just not able
lot
to
of
care for
reasons.
the children. And so, yeah, so you might have a grandparent who's all of a sudden finding themselves having to raise a school-age kid again. After,
maybe more than
after
one.
years. Yeah, and maybe multiple children. So we do try to step in and help those families, you know, in whatever way that we're able to.
You know, I did have somebody tell me that, well, if that's the case, they probably need food more than they do toys. Well, I look at that this way, yes, they do, and I always throw a little food in there for these families. But there are avenues where they can get food. But kids are kids, and they see everybody else get toys for
That's
Christmas. And hey, they're no different than other kids.
That's absolutely right.
So,
We do try to connect our families with all the resources that are available in Cannon. So if a family needs a food box, we try to find out which churches are helpful, which food bank hours, stuff like that. So we try to be that connector for people. So if anybody in the community has questions about what's available or needs a resource, they're always welcome to call us. At the CAC, our phone number, I can say it, try to say it slowly, 615-563-9915. That's our desk number right here in Cannon. Call us. If we're not in the office, it's probably because we're out working with families or teaching an education class. But we do work. We have 3 people here full-time in Cannon, dedicated to helping the community. So if you have a question about what we do, if you have a need, please bring it to us. Of course, it's confidential. We're free. Everything that we provide is free to the community. We're grant funded, community supported. We can't do it without the community. And so if you, like I said, if you need anything, give us a call and we'll try to help out.
And not just those physical needs. Like, sure, Amanda and Abigail are there to help people meet physical needs and help find resources for drug addictions and things like that. But we also work on prevention. And so, because we would like to never have this problem in the first place, but if you find a grandparent who's now raising a child, or a great-grandparent who's now raising a child, it is a different world. And so we start finding things like internet safety are really important, and 1 in 10 kids is gonna be sexually abused. We know that, I talk about it every time we're here, but that number is actually lower for kids who will be exploited online. And so internet safety with phones is so important right now. And so we're here to provide those prevention resources because we know that having to seek out those resources is exhausting and it's tiring. And when you are in the throes of raising children, that is not the easiest thing sometimes to seek out resources for yourself. And
you
so,
don't know, most people, typical people that are put in that situation are not aware of who to call.
exactly. And so we're here, even if we're not the right resource, we want to help you find the right resource.
Right.
We work closely with a lot of organizations in Cannon County, and so we can help try to connect you to who would maybe be the best fit. But like I said, everything that we do is free and confidential, so you never have to feel embarrassed or ashamed to call us. We're here to help. Julie, not to put you on the spot, but do you know the statistic for the online?
I want to say it's 1 in 5.
Yeah.
I want to say it's 1 in 5 children will be exploited online, which means a variety of different things. But it means that as parents, we've got to have those talks early and often. Before we put that phone in our kids' hands, we need to come up with a contract to help them use it responsibly. We need to know what apps they're downloading because we might think it's a game, but that game might have chat capabilities where they're talking to somebody in Australia who doesn't even exist or doesn't even know who they are. And so we've got to be on the front end of knowing those things. And so that's where I come in, is I teach Darkness to Light, which is prevention curriculum for adults, so that you can go into it with a tool belt. You can go into it with some skills under your belt to help handle those things. And that's, like Amanda said, everything we provide is always free. We are grant funded. We are here to serve. And so we really want to make those connections. And so we try to put ourselves out there. We were at the drive-in. We'll have a Pumpkins and Prevention event coming up in October.
We were at We Care Cannon.
Yes, we were at We Care Cannon. A fantastic event. That was our 2nd year there. But the best way to find out about those events is to follow our Facebook page.
Okay. Let's meet Abigail. We haven't talked to Abigail all this time.
Abigail was my intern last semester, so she got kind of a taste of the Child Advocacy Center and then decided she would like to work for us. So we had an opportunity come available through some extra grant money available to the county. So Abigail is here specifically to work with adults in Cannon County that are, I want to say, impacted by opioid use.
Yeah. So my official title is I'm the Drug Endangered Children Coordinator, and I'm able to work with people who have struggled with addiction, are currently in active addiction, who may have children. So I'm just able to provide resources. We are a free service. We can go to people's homes, just sit, talk with them, answer any questions that they might have, and just be a support for them.
I think that's a key phrase too, is that our goal is to support a family. We want to help families when they're in a crisis situation, support them, stabilize them, and so that they don't continue to stay in crisis. If that's helping them get a food box, great. If that's giving them education on how to keep their child safe while using the internet, that's our goal. If it's just somebody that they need to talk to and vent to, we're there for them. So
I don't think people really realize how dangerous the cell phone, and listen, I get called, I have a landline still at my house. I have a cell phone too. I get calls from everywhere. And it will say, sometimes it will, because my TV, it flashes up who's calling. Sometimes it will be somebody I recognize. But when I answer the phone, it's not anybody I recognize. In fact, I hardly can understand them. So,
yeah,
that's coming from
I have heard of that.
Nolan
happening.
where.
So you have to be extremely careful, especially with cell phones and young children. And I'm a parent myself, and I can speak from experience. Yes, it is a tricky road that you have got to monitor that, because it's our job as adults, safe adults, to keep our children safe and to advocate for what's best for them.
And sometimes the apps are very deceiving.
That's right. And I've heard from numerous parents that just because it says calculator on your phone doesn't mean that that's actually a calculator. It could be a hidden folder or something. So, I say to parents all the time, if you bought that phone or you pay for that phone, you have the right to go through the phone. If you need to cut the internet off at 8 o'clock, cut the internet off at 8 o'clock. Don't let your child take the phone to bed. Put those rules in place and try to do it early on so that it establishes those boundaries.
And while you're eating. I hate it whenever I take them, everybody out to eat, and we're sitting in the restaurant and everybody's got their cell phone out but me. And I thought, what?
You still have a flip phone though, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, and she doesn't answer it half the time. Oh, not half the time, 3/4 of the time. Maybe it's because
If
the
I hear
caller
it,
ID
I
is
answer
on the TV screen.
No, not from my cell phone.
Oh,
Just from my
your
landline. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's just that cell phones are so readily available. Everyone
yeah.
seems to have one. They keep your fingers busy. If you got 5 minutes and it turns into an hour of you going down a hole of some sort. So yeah, we just want to make sure that we're teaching our young children, especially, those healthy boundaries from the beginning.
I agree. I think that's one of the most dangerous things that there is out there today for kids.
So let's go this route. What are the let's go two. I don't want to put y'all on the spot if you don't know. What are the two most apps that are out there that are geared toward targeting children right now?
Oh, I wouldn't know what apps are geared toward targeting children. I would say Snapchat, because things disappear very quickly. But also any social media app, let's say Instagram, because that's a little more popular than Facebook. Studies are showing severe detriments to children's mental health. And so while those aren't necessarily geared at children, children are on those apps and they are comparing themselves in ways that they haven't before, and they are being exposed to things that they haven't before. And so any social media app is going to be a detriment to a child's health. They say wait till at least 8th grade for a cell phone is what they're saying, because they know that kids, as soon as they have that cell phone in their hands, are going to want social media of some sort, because texting just doesn't cut it.
Right.
But even simple texting, kids will send pictures, they will blackmail other children with
Right.
pictures, things that they weren't really prepared for, and don't have a lot of guidance through. And once they feel like they've messed up, that's a hard thing to go to their parents sometimes. And so knowing ahead of time and setting those boundaries in place, like maybe we have a Bark phone, or maybe we have the Bark app on your phone to help sort through what's dangerous and what's not. There's apps like that, like Bark, that help keep kids safe without parents having to read every text message and every conversation or see every picture they've taken. But it'll alert parents if there's something alarming. If there's language, you can set preferences. If there's language, or if there's music, or if there's suicidal behavior that's being sent in a text message, it'll alert the parents. Now that's whether it's your child sending it or whether it's somebody sending it to your child. There's apps that are made to keep kids safe, but it seems like kids like to stay one step ahead of adults. And
Right.
so
And it's amazing that you say 8th grade is what the age that the experts talk about, because 8th grade is 7th and 8th grade. That's one of the reasons why you built a middle school here and started pushing middle school, because you wanted to get those kids out of the elementary side of things, because they're developing. You know, they're developing mentally, they're developing physically. You know, I've always said in the world of sports, you get your education, you get your tendencies when you're in 7th and 8th grade. And to me, I would, and my kid's grown and long gone, but you know, we didn't allow her to have a cell phone until she was in 10th grade. 'Cause
We
I
didn't
remember
have
how
cell phones when mine
I
were
remember
growing
how freshmen acted in school, because I was substitute teacher one day, and I was like, no, we're not having this, you know. But 10th grade is when they start to mellow out a little bit and become more mature in 11th and 12th, you know.
And it's also, it is nice to have communication with your child all the time.
Right,
I'm not knocking
right.
that. We've done different things for each of my kids. But 10th grade is when about the age they start driving too.
Yeah.
And so that's when you really want to have that communication with your child. And so they say wait till 8th is bare minimum. But I wholly understand that there are situations where you want to be able to communicate with your child, but there's still ways to do it in a safe manner that keeps them a kid a little bit longer.
Right.
Because what we also know is that 9 is the average age of adult content exposure for children.
Right,
That's
and
9.
it's-
That's 2nd grade. 2nd and 3rd grade is the average age of exposure. And putting those phones in hands has lowered that number. In Tennessee, it's between 8 and 9 now.
Yeah.
And so keeping those phones out of their hands a little bit longer, or knowing internet safety, which we can help you with, is going to help stretch that out.
That goes back to establishing those boundaries early on. And even something as simple as teaching your child anatomical names for body parts goes a long way, because if they have been exposed to something, or if someone has touched them inappropriately, they can effectively communicate that to someone.
Yes.
And so it also establishes transparency from early on. And so you're not trying to go back in the teenage years and establish those boundaries when they could have been established, you know, from like age 8 and up or whatever. But,
If you're creating those relationships early, you're who they're coming to ask questions.
Right.
Mom, this kid had this weird picture on his phone, and telling you about it because you've opened up to them. They trust you with this. And so even if it feels embarrassing, even if it feels hard, we can help you facilitate those conversations. And like I said earlier, our Facebook page, we post weekly conversation starters that help facilitate those conversations with your kids.
And I know the United States government, they're trying to step in on some of the social media and set age, but that's hard to do. It's hard to enforce.
Right.
You know, states right now, I think Florida is one of them that has a law in place that you have to be X amount of age before you can get on social media. And they're having a hard time. In fact, I think there's lawsuits going on right now from some parents groups and stuff like that didn't quite necessarily like that law. You know, when schools are starting to ban cell phones, Warren County schools, they're not allowing their kids to have a cell phone out in class. In fact, they're looking at and it's going to be up on on the agenda of a Board of Education meeting where there's lock bags, kind of like the drug lock boxes. And a student has to drop their phone in that bag and they don't get it back till the end of the day, you know, so, you know, there's
How
a
do
lot
they
of.
know which phone belongs to who?
Well, that's an issue, yeah, and that's true. And it takes away, kind of like what you were saying, Julie, it takes away from that involvement. Is what if something happens at that school, the student can't text their parents or what the case might be, you know. And we had an incident a few years ago here at Cannon County. It wasn't necessarily anything that was that you really needed to pay attention to. It was just a mistake, is what happened. And then it got out, and by the time it got out, obviously everybody was thinking that there was a random shooter going around in these neighborhoods shooting up not only kids at the schools, but also shooting up the neighborhood next door. When it was just basically the police came to interview some kids about a threat that had happened. The guilty party was in a mental home, didn't have any chance of getting out. And but you know, there you go with the kids being able to text their parents and tell them, hey, goodbye, this is it for me. Some of them were doing that, and it caused a big panic. And of course, I didn't find out about it till 11 o'clock that morning. You know, when of course media could have. Then that's another story for another day. Media could have helped get the word out and calmed everybody, you know, calmed all the fears down. But yeah, but cell phones are an issue.
I think
you
it's
know.
great to have the boundaries around cell phones, but we also have to remember that kids can communicate through computers, through Xboxes, through a multitude of other
I've heard about
electronics.
grounded children communicating through the refrigerator. And
Oh,
so they'll find a way. They'll find a way. Yes. And so what's important is that we're just
You
regardless.
mean that where they look in and see what kind of food you got
Yes.
in there?
But
Yes. And so it's important, regardless of the technology you think your child has, it's just important to be having those conversations.
these
Right.
are fancy refrigerators, by the way.
I know what they are.
Smart fridges, so to speak. Yeah.
I know what they are.
We had a kid, I had foster kids when, you know, and we had it's amazing how kids, like you say, can figure it out. I mean, this kid.
Kids are
in
smarter about cell
7th
phones
grade
than
was a
most
whiz.
adults are.
And you know, and that's exactly why the necessity of this training needs to happen, is because we as parents and grandparents especially, you know, how many of the elderly that we think about, that we hear about taking computer classes just because, and we talk to them every day, they say, well, I don't know anything about computers, you know. And training like this will definitely help those type
Right.
of people.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, because kids can do just as much on a computer as they can on a cell phone, or maybe more things.
I need to hire a kid right now to help me do some stuff on a computer.
Oh, I've got my grandkids.
Okay, I'll hire them.
They'll come do that.
Another thing we want to mention while we're here is we do have our annual fundraiser, which is Cannon Runs, will be coming up in the springtime. It's never too soon to start planning for that. It's a 5K.
We haven't
so-
got past Christmas
I
yet,
know.
Amanda.
Start training for it now.
While the weather's still good, start getting those shoes laced up and getting ready for it.
But that's also an event that we rely on community support for. So if you're looking for an event to sponsor, we would love for you to consider the CAC and our Cannon Runs. So,
Now, there's another event that you guys got coming up soon. Are you guys participating in is it Light Up the Night or?
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll be in Rutherford County. It'll be in Rutherford County in early September. And that's a fun party. So that is an evening event where they will have, I believe we've got something new coming
it's
this year.
casino themed.
Which
this year.
casino themed with billiard tables and, but not real money, to keep us out of trouble. But that one is at Oakland's Mansion. It's fancy party. Everybody wears white and dresses up and has a good time. But that is a fundraiser. So we work very closely with Rutherford County. We couldn't have the staffing and the program that we have in Cannon without our Rutherford County partners. Our grant writers and our development coordinators are all housed in Rutherford County. And so we look forward to that event as well.
And then in
Rutherford.
November, we do a golf tournament. So if we have any golfers, anybody interested in being in a golf tournament, we have that coming up in mid-November. So.
All right.
Okay, ladies. This has been great. And Abigail, I hope you, well, I want to say I hope you keep busy.
Yes.
But I don't know.
I know what you mean. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for
Julie, and
having
I'll
us.
see you and Amanda. And I'll probably see Abigail too before.
Yes.
Thank you so
We'll see you
much.
soon. Thank you.
All
so
right. Thank you, girls. Okay, we're going to get into events now. I know this is August, so we're going to have to hurry through this, but I don't have very many. August 17th will be the Lions Club Fish Fry, and that will take place at the Lions Club building from 11 to 6. You can enjoy unlimited catfish, chicken, sides, dessert, and drink. Adults, $12. Kids 12 and under, $6. And takeouts will be available. And that's on Saturday, August 17th. And I will tell you, it's some of the best fish I've ever eaten. Those guys have it down pat. August 24th, the Chamber of Commerce Cruise In on the Square. And this will be our last cruise in of the season. However, the Color Fall Car and Truck Show will be on September 28th. I just got our new flyers in yesterday, and I'll be sending them out, our new brochures on that. The trophies, the show begins at 8 o'clock, but everyone that wants to show their vehicle and be judged can enter from 8 to 12. And there is a $20 fee for that. There's no admission charge for the public to come see it, but you can't park inside the square because that's for the show cars. Door prizes will be given out to registered vehicles. DTC will draw the name of the winner of the TV that they give away every year. Shelter Insurance will set up with their goodie table. Big Frog Custom T-shirts will be there with the new T-shirt for 2024. And let's see, this year we're going to have a craft table for kids 12 and under where they can go over and do some crafts at the table. And we have a new sponsor, and we're going to have several other vendors there. Kona Ice is going to be there. The Hot Dog Man is going to be there, so you won't be hungry. And then we have some great restaurants around the square. If you'd like to go over to them and be cool, we have Sophia's right there around the corner from it. So there's some place for you to eat. And then you can enjoy some great music. And of course, that's provided by our DJ, Keith Reedy.
Who's that?
You know him well.
Okay.
You do. We will have trivia questions, and of course, we will have the 50-50 drawing. And that is going to be on September 28th. So we would like everybody, we've had the last 2 years have been a good turnout for this, and we're hoping to have another one. The Art Center presents Something Rotten in the Theater, August 7th through the 17th. And September 7th, the Kings of Queen, which is a Queen tribute band, will take center stage. And you can call the Art Center at 615-563-2787 for information. And of course, their big event for the year is the White Oaks Craft Fair, and that will be September 14th and 15th, outside and inside of the Art Center. Now, there's no admission fee, but there is a $5 parking fee, which will benefit the Cannon County Rescue Squad. And if you've ever been to that event, because there's so many people that attend it, you will understand why we need people to help with parking. And then August 31st through September 2nd is the Cannon County Walking Horse Association, and they will hold their Labor Day ride, which begins on Saturday right in Woodbury at the fairgrounds. They all saddle up and ride through the town, and everybody gets excited about that. And they go up to Short Mountain to the campgrounds, and they enjoy a weekend of trail riding, camping, food, music, dancing, plus a horse show. And you can contact Corey Gilly at 615-542-6970. And Keith, we've got about 30 seconds left.
Football starts, high school starts on the 23rd, and the middle school is going to be going on. It's already started, and so it'll be going on through that time. So come watch the games if you can't make them out. Cannon Curry News and Events Facebook page will have them live each and every Thursday and Friday.
We thank you for watching, and we will see you in September.